Hi, welcome to Math Class with Mrs. King. Today we're going to go over Module 3, Lesson 1. Students are learning to make equivalent fractions using an area model. Okay, so let's just start with number 1. So use the folded paper strip to mark points 0 and 1 above the number line and 0/3, 1/3, 2/3, and 3/3 below it. Okay, so you're gonna put a mark, put your 0, go to the end of your number line, put another mark, you're gonna write a 1. Okay, so if we're representing thirds, that means we need to break this into 3 parts. So you need to draw 2 lines to make it into thirds. You want to make it as even as possible, like that. And then we're just going to go ahead and label it. So this is going to be 0/3. This is going to be 1/3. This is going to be 2/3. And this is going to be 3/3. Okay, I know they said a folded strip. I'm not sure if that was included in your homework packet, so don't worry about that. Okay, so now this is how we're going to make equivalent fractions. So here they already did it numerically for us, or they did it with the numbers, but we're going to take this and let me see, they told us to draw 2 vertical lines to break each rectangle into thirds. Okay, so vertical are up and down lines, and they already told us to do 2. So you're going to do that for that one. You're going to do that for the next one. We're going to do that for each of them. Try to make it as even as possible. I know it's difficult. Okay, and our last one. So you're putting each one of them into thirds. Now, so we're starting with 1/3. So that means we want to shade in 1 out of 3 for each of these. So now we're going through the process of making equivalent fractions that mean the same amount. So here we have 1/3, and then we're going to increase that by 2. So that means we're going to take an individual unit, like this will be an individual unit right here. Okay? And how do we increase that by 2? We increase that by 2 by just drawing a line through it, 1 line. All right? So here they already did the multiplication, but we can check it. So notice when we drew the line, we now have 2 shaded, represented here. And then now what are the total parts? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, let's do another one. So in order to make another equivalent fraction, this time instead of doing 1 line going horizontal, we're going to do 2 lines going horizontal. Okay, so now how is that going to look as multiplication? So again, we started with 1/3. Put your equal. Do an extended line here, copy your 1/3 into your multiplication. Now we're going to put our multiplication sign, and then pay attention to just 1 unit. So we took 1 unit, and what did we increase that 1 unit by? 1, 2, 3. So that's why we're going to put 3. Okay, you're going to put your equal. You can multiply across, or you can just go back and look at your area model. So you can do 1 times 3 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. Okay? Now, what is this saying? This is telling us that 3 nines is equivalent to 1/3. Look back over here. Notice how the amount of the shading did not change. So that made them equivalent. Just the way we cut it changed. Okay? So now we're going to do another one. So go here. We can go ahead and write 1/3 because right now we have 1/3. This time, so to make this equivalent fraction, we did 2 horizontal lines. Let's do 3 this time. So draw 1 right directly in the center. Draw another here, and then draw another here. Okay? Now, what did we do? So we're going to write 1/3 again. We're going to set up our multiplication to show what we did in the area model. So we took out 1/3, looking at 1 unit. And looking at 1 unit, how much did we increase it by? 1. I know, we could do one that's not even shaded because it's kind of confused. Like the shading, I should have shaded another way. So as you can see, if we just go here in the center, 1, 2, 3, 4. We increase each by 4. Now we're going to just do the multiplication. 1 times 4 is 4. Or you can go up here and count. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's if your shading is not all blended in like mine is. And then 3 times 4 is 12. And you can also confirm that here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, let's make one more. Okay, so since we sliced this one once, this one twice, this one 3, let's do 4 here. So you want to try to make them as even as possible. I know it's a little bit difficult. So to get 4, or we're going to do 4 lines. Let's see. 2, 3, and 4. Okay. Again, we started with 1/3. So you want to write that 1/3 here. Write your equal. Recopy that 1/3. Then what did we increase the unit by? I'm going to just count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We increased that unit, each individual unit, because we started with 3 units and we increased them by 5. Okay, so you do 1 times 5 is 5. 3 times 5 is 15. All right, so this is how you make equivalent fractions. Okay, so students, I want you to try out number 2. I'm gonna go over to number 3 and just show you how this is a little bit different. Okay, so what is different now? So notice here, we're starting with 4/5. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll label this number line. And since we're doing 4/5, how does 4/5? So this is unit form, so we're going to put it in fraction form. 4/5 is simply 4/5. So we have our number line. So to make it fifths, you're going to have to do 4 dashes. Try to make it as even as possible. 2, 3, 4. And that will give us our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts, 5 units, okay? So now we're gonna label. So 0/5, 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, 5/5. And then we're just gonna put a point above our 4/5 like that. Okay? So now, it's a little bit more difficult because yes, we're gonna start with drawing our vertical lines. So we're gonna put them into fifths. So to put them into fifths, you need to do 4 lines going up and down. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Try to make them as even as possible. And then same, you're just gonna repeat that for all of them. Put each one of these area models into fifths. Since we started with 4/5, we're gonna shade 4 out of 5. I'm gonna shade it at a slant, so when I draw my lines, they'll be a little bit more visible. So I'm gonna do 4/5 here, and you're gonna just repeat that for each of the area models. So now we're gonna make an equivalent fraction for 4/5 starting here. Draw one line. Okay, what did we start with? We started with 4/5. We do equal, we do our standing line, we recopy the 4/5, put our multiplication. What did we increase an individual unit by? We increased it by 2. So you're gonna put a 2, do your multiplication. 4 times 2 is 8. 5 times 2 is 10. Okay, move to the next. I did 1 horizontal line. This time I'm going to do 2. 1, 2. Could you do more? Yes, but I wouldn't do too many. I would just do bit by bit because then you'll have just too many parts in your area model. So again, started with 4/5. Recopy your 4/5. What did we increase it by? Go to an individual unit. 1, 2, 3. Each unit got increased by 3. Write your equal. 4 times 3 is 12. 5 times 3 is 15. In doing this, we're making an equivalent fraction. All right? We did 2 horizontal lines. Let's do 3. Gradually increase it because you don't want to have all those boxes as least as possible. Started with 4/5. Recopy your 4/5. Multiply by okay, let me slow down. What did we increase it by? 1, 2, 3, 4. Each unit increased by 4. 4 times 4 is 12. 5 times 4 is 20. All right, okay, we did 3 horizontal lines. Now let's do 4. Try to make them as even as possible. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. Started with 4/5. Recopy your 4/5. Multiply it by what did you increase it by? Go to a unit. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're doing times 5 times 5. Now let's say I don't know the multiplication. I could just simply count how many are shaded. That's going to be a lot of counting though. So here I'm just going to do the 4 times the 5, and that's going to give me the 20. Then I'm going to do 5 times 5, and that's going to give me 25. Okay? Now, here at the bottom, they are giving you fractions greater than 1. This one, I'm going to get you going on it. I know I already did 2 with you. Okay, so for number 4, continue the process and model 2 equivalent fractions for 9/8. 9/8 is 9/8, and this is an improper fraction. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that we have greater than a whole. Okay, so now they first want you to estimate to mark the points on the number line. So let's say we know that, okay, so 8/8, I'm just going to write that here. Remember, that is equal to 1 whole. So we have 9/8. That's going to take us over 1. So when we do our number line, you want to start with 0 and you want to go up to 2. Because this 9/8 is going to be greater than 1. And then in the center, you want to write your 1. Okay? And then they want you to estimate to mark the point. So if it's 9/8, you know that it's going to be, we know 8/8 is equal to 1 whole. So we know we're going to pass this because we have 9/8. So that's probably going to take us about right here. So that'll be our estimation. Just a little bit over the 1. Okay? Now, what are we putting these in? We're putting these in eighths. So you're to put them in eighths, you're gonna have to draw 7 vertical lines. Try to make them as even as possible. And then you might have to start over because look at that, it's not even. So I'm gonna start over. So I'm gonna just try to make them a little bit close, but to make my eighths, I have to do 7 lines going up and down. Again, I made them a little bit too close. You're also gonna put this into eighths. And then if we have 9/8, what do that mean? That means we're gonna have to shade in all 8 here. So I might just go ahead and do like, I'm gonna do it like at a slant. So all of this will be shaded in, because that will give us our 8. And then our 9th one, we're gonna shade in just 1 bar here, or 1 column, okay? I want you to repeat the same for over here. So you're drawing the same thing. How many to make 8? You gotta make 7 lines. Think of what's 1 less than 8 is 7. So we're going to make 7 lines. Do the same to this one. They're in the denominator is eighths. We put them in eighths. Try to make it as neat as possible. 3. Using a ruler will help. Same thing. One hole gets shaded in. Then one gets shaded in here. Okay, so I got you going with the picture. Here we're going to do one line. Okay. So we started with 9/8. Recopy. Then we're going to do the times. And then what did we increase each unit by? We increased it by 2. So we're going to do times 2. And then 9 times 2 is 18. 8 times 2 is 16. Okay, so we made an equivalent fraction. A fraction that means the same amount for 9/8. Okay, notice how the shading did not change. So here I'm going to leave this one for you to do, students. I thank you so much for joining me today. Until I see you next time. Bye.